With the NFL season still upon us, there has been a list that has been released, and it's the top 10 quarterbacks entering the 2022 NFL season, and it's caught a lot of people by surprise. There's one man on the list that did not make the top 10 list that people aren't irate about, saying that this quarterback deserved to be on that list. Also, which quarterback will get their offense going and ready and going after losing their top receivers? Quarterback Patrick Mahomes for the Kansas City Chiefs, or quarterback Aaron Rodgers for the Green Bay Packers? All that will be covered today on Cooper Sports Podcast. And you're now listening to Cooper Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Cooper Burks, bringing you the best content from the NBA and NFL. Wherever you may be listening from Spotify or YouTube. Thank you for joining. And guys, today is a fresh new week. Today is the start of a new week. Today is Monday, July 11th. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to start the podcasting. Hope that I can bring out the best for this week. So, in today's podcast, we're going to be talking about a couple big things, actually. One is this list that was just brought out, and we're going to talk about two quarterbacks that can possibly help, that can possibly fix their offense and get them going for this upcoming season. We'll get into that. All right, so let's begin. So, just today, just this morning, actually, there's a list that was released that was voted on by coaches, executives, and players. And it was a top 10 list it was an NFL top 10 list of quarterbacks that are heading into the 2022 NFL season. So it was a list of quarterbacks that they think, it was a list of quarterbacks, of top 10 quarterbacks heading into the 2022 NFL season. And boy, did a lot of people have to say a lot. I was watching Get Up this morning. They're talking about it, and I've seen just around Twitter people like were on about it and talking about it. So we're going to get into this list right quick. So here's this is the list voted upon by coaches, executives, and players. This is the list right now. The list is number 1, Aaron Rodgers. Number 2, Patrick Mahomes. Number 3, Josh Allen. Number 4, Tom Brady. Number 5, Joe Burrow. Number 6, Matthew Stafford. Number 7, Justin Herbert. Number 8, Russell Wilson. Number 9, Deshaun Watson. And at number 10, my guy, Dak Prescott. So that is the list that was released this morning for the quarterbacks entering the 2022 NFL season. And boy, it's been fun to listen to because I've had a lot of people share their opinions on who deserves to be in this list and who doesn't. So I'm gonna talk about this list, what I think about it, who I think should probably be moved up or maybe moved down, and then we'll get into somebody that's missed out on this list that people believe should have been on this list. So what I think about this list, there's a few changes I'd like to make, actually. There's a couple. First of all, we'll get right into it. Number 9, Deshaun Watson. Excuse me? Why would you even attempt? We've been over this. Why would you even attempt to put Deshaun Watson? Hello? Are y'all forgetting that he's in a civil lawsuit right now? And he might not even play for a year? And we haven't seen Deshaun play since 2020 where he went 4-12. Yes, he went 4-12, but still, he didn't have his top receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, even though he was number 1 in passing yards. But still, why would you put a man who's dealing with now, again, Deshaun Watson is an amazing quarterback, great guy. But why would you put Deshaun Watson on a list when he might not even be playing next season? Why? When I saw Deshaun Watson's name, I was just outrageous. Like, I just couldn't wait to get on the podcast and tell you all this. This is how I feel about it. I don't like it. I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. Deshaun Watson is not on my top 10 list for quarterbacks entering the NFL season. I'm replacing him with somebody else on that number 9 list. Okay. Now that I got that out of the way and y'all joined that little segment rant, let's get right into it. Let's move on to another player. Number 1, I like it. The top 4 quarterbacks, Rodgers, Mahomes, Allen, and Tom Brady, I like it. The 4 golf bros. I like, as y'all know, the match. They did a little golf thing at the beginning, but Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes, Allen, and Tom Brady, I like that. I think I keep that top 4. Other people might express how it's ranked, but I don't care who's ranked. I just like that top 4 selection there. 5, Joe Burrow. It's a little It's a little controversial with Joe Burrow. It's a little different. Matthew Stafford, I like it. It's not bad. Um, I don't think he deserves to be at 6, but we'll see. That's what I think. Other people may think different. Herbert just definitely deserves to be ranked up a little bit. He deserves to be bumped up. Wilson, I kind of like where he's at a little. Watson, I'm already taking him out, and Dak. We'll get into Dak later on that. So Aaron Rodgers, I'll keep him there just because he's Aaron Rodgers. Okay, Aaron Rodgers. Yes, he lost Devontae Adams, but still, I think that he can. We've seen Aaron Rodgers play before, and you know how he plays. Dude is a gunslinger in my eyes. Actually, now that speaking of gunslinger quarterbacks that I like are guys like Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen and maybe Patrick Mahomes. What I like about Aaron Rodgers being on number one is that you know how he can produce on offense. Man has come in the clutch for many times in his career. He's this past season he had a QBR of 669.1. That was the first. He was ranked first in QBR this past season with that. I like it. Mahomes too. You could say Allen or Mahomes at number two. Josh Allen is obviously an incredible talent. You've seen how this is the talent we have with young quarterbacks now at this day and age of the NFL. Josh Allen has made his name for himself. He deserved that 6-year contract. Allen has proved a lot. You see how he plays. You see how he throws the ball and gunslings it down. You see how he's able to run. He's a good quarterback that can run the ball as well on the run. You see how he was able to perform plays many well. And Mahomes, like I said, number two, Mahomes is another quarterback that's losing his top receiver, and that is Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins, Devontae to the Raiders, obviously this past free agency. But Mahomes is what a quarterback that I like to call somebody that airs it out, somebody that runs the ball very well. He can, and Mahomes can make plays for many receivers. I've seen him before. Uh, I like his talent. I like the style, the way he plays football. I like it a lot. Tom Brady at number 4. You could put him at 4 just because you could say that this might be his last year, and we don't know if he's going to come back or not. Just because he's coming back, you don't know what the state is for him. But he still has good receivers like Evans and Godwin. He made for the 2 years that he's been at Tampa Bay, going on a 3, I believe. He's made them good receivers, and he's led them to a Super Bowl and won one. And then this past season was the heartbreaking comeback loss to the Los Angeles Rams. But number 5 is one that a lot of people are also talking about right now. Joe Burrow. I'm not going to say that Joe Burrow doesn't deserve to be on this top 10 list. Again, Joe Burrow deserves to be on this top 10 list, I believe. But I just don't know if it's 5. And okay, Joe Burrow has a cast around him a little bit. He does have a receivers core. Okay, yes, he did make the Super Bowl, and guess what? Joe Burrow took me by surprise. I'm gonna say it. Joe Burrow did take me by surprise this season because, as y'all know, his rookie season, just like Dak, they went out with his rookie season. Well, not just like Dak his rookie year, but I'm putting it as an example for quarterback. But Joe Burrow, I know his rookie season in 2020 went out with that ACL injury and he wasn't able to come back. And then he comes back the next year, takes his team to the playoffs, takes the Bengals to a Super Bowl, and he wins Comeback Player of the Year. I think that's progress. I think Joe Burrow's progressed a lot since when he went out with his injury and to now here when we're talking about it. But Joe Burrow, it's just there. It's hard to not put him at 5 because again, he's still young. He's going to be a great guy. If you get him more pieces, he'll still be an excellent quarterback, I believe. It's just that offensive line that is just I'm worried about. But the offensive line did improve a lot this year, so hopefully they'll be better next year because that's what's a huge problem. Because if y'all remember last season in that playoff matchup, that AFC divisional round against Tennessee, Titans and Bengals, Joe Burrow was sacked 9 times because that offensive line could just not hold up. And then there's just one big play in the Super Bowl where on that 4th down and 1 play where Aaron Donald was able to get to Joe Burrow in time. It was a play where Jamar Chase was like excuse me, where Jamar Chase was wide open all the way down the field on that last play for the Bengals, and it could have been a touchdown if the Bengals line had blocked correctly and they held up. But Joe Burrow has progressed a lot, but I just don't know if I can put him at 5 just because of the other quarterbacks that I've seen that are like behind him. I just seen a lot, and I'm like, okay, yes, Joe Burrow has progressed a lot. He did bring his team back to the Super Bowl, but again, it's only year 2, guys, so we don't know. We know he's about to have a lot of potential because his supporting cast with Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and T.Y. Higgins, I believe, or Ty Higgins, however you say it. I think that's who's on that team, but still, and Joe Mixon as the running back, but still, I don't mind Joe Burrow being on the top 10 list. He deserves it. I just don't know if I can put him at 5. But that's where I stand with Joe Burrow. Who's next? Matthew Stafford's on the list. Matthew Stafford. Okay, here's the thing. A lot of people were saying Matthew Stafford was carried by Cooper Kupp in that Rams office because every time, they say Matthew Stafford, oh, he'd step back and bomb it and he'd bomb it and step back and like just chunk it up to Cooper Kupp, and Cooper Kupp was always there to make a play for the team to help them win. I don't necessarily think he was carried by Kupp. I actually think that Matthew Stafford deserves to be a top 10 NFL quarterback. I know some of you may think I'm crazy, but he deserves to be a top 10 quarterback, and I like him at number 6 just because of the other quarterback options ahead of him. Number 6, I believe he deserves to be top 10 quarterback, and here's why. Matthew Stafford was a lone stand, okay? He was in Detroit for his whole life. For his whole for his whole NFL career before getting traded to the Rams. He was with the Lions his whole career for 12 years. For 12 years up to that point before he got traded, he was with the Lions for 12 years. He found no success, only making the playoffs, only to get beat by my Cowboys in the playoffs. Um, he had Calvin, if I'm not mistaken, he did have Calvin Johnson. He had Megatron. But they still couldn't find success over there in Detroit for the 12 years that he was there. Again, as I mentioned, they made the playoffs, lost to the Cowboys, I think that one time. And then they've made it in the years past, but still haven't found success. But Matthew Stafford just found no success in Detroit. Like, he was just there for all those years, a long time Detroit veteran, and he just wasn't able to find anything. Even with Calvin Johnson, there just wasn't nothing for the Lions. And then what happens? They do that. The Lions and Rams agree to a trade that sends Jared Goff to the Lions and uh, what's his name? Matthew Stafford to the Ram. Yeah, Matthew Stafford to the Rams. Yeah, I don't know why I'm losing a train of thought right now, but this is a really big. This is like a really big thing for Matthew Stafford. That's why I deserve to be on. He deserves to be on my top 10 list. Yes, okay. Matthew Stafford does make a lot of mistakes in the past. There's been times. There was a time in the early season of this past season where he went on the Rams went on a 3-game losing streak against or they went on a 3-game losing streak, losing to the Titans, 49ers, and Packers. I don't know if it was in that order particular, but I can't remember. But those were the 3 teams that they lost to in their losing streak. And out of all those 3 games, Matthew Stafford threw pick sixes. And that's where I'm like, okay, that's why I think he deserves to be at 6. Because although Matthew Stafford didn't win the Super Bowl and make the playoffs, he still had a little loopy part of the year where he was like not doing his best. But I still think he deserves to be top 10 because look, Matthew Stafford, 12 years on Detroit, had no success, gets traded to a team, has a Super Bowl potential. He gets there, he takes the Rams to the playoffs, and they go and win the Super Bowl and beat the Bengals. That's why I think Joe Burrow or Matthew Stafford deserves to be top 10 because Matthew Stafford brought success to him and the Rams. He did something that he hasn't been able to do his whole career, and that's go win a Super Bowl. That's why I think he deserves to be on there. Justin Herbert. If I could just say, I think Justin Herbert deserves to be bumped up more because Justin Herbert, yes, he hasn't made the playoffs his past 2 seasons, But still, you gotta put Herbert a little more up in the rankings. Like Justin Herbert is somebody what me and my friend talk about, and me and my friend talk about Herbert all the time. He's a big Justin Herbert dude. I like Justin Herbert. I like him. Herbert, like if you watch his highlights from his past two seasons, Herbert just bombs it. He airs it out. He finds a receiver. Like he'll be out in the scramble, he'll be in the pocket, look for somebody, and there'll be somebody down the field. He'll just be on the dot. That's what I love about um Herbert. I think Herbert had a successful rookie season. He broke a stat record. I forgot what it was about, but it's just that Herbert and his supporting cast around him is amazing with Mike Williams and gosh, darn, I already forgot the Chargers offense. Silly me. Oh my gosh. But the supporting cast that he has around him is just amazing with the way that that offense works. I think if you change up the coaching on the I think if you just get a better head coach, I think the Chargers can make a run. But it's just Justin Herbert has potential. And me and the friend that I was talking about just a minute ago, me and him are we're putting Justin Herbert up there as potentially being an MVP next year. If not being MVP next year, then a candidate for MVP because of his historic seasons for the past 2 years, putting up big numbers and just getting checked down to just bombing it downfield. Herbert's a scrambler too. He's one of those guys that I think is a run pass on the run type of dudes. He's good at it. I think with that also obviously he had that heartbreaking loss against the Raiders where they could have actually tied that and both would have gotten the playoffs. But still, if the Chargers get to the playoffs this next season, Herbert's going to have full potential. He's going to be amazing. He's going to show everybody what he's capable of in the playoffs. And I really think the Chargers will make the playoffs this year because they got a brand new defense with Justin Jackson and Khalil Mack being added. And with that's scary. You got that. That's the kind of a scary thing there because you have Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa both on the line. So that's going to make it a little scary for some people. But with all that being said about Herbert, he has potential, and he has potential to be an MVP or an MVP candidate in the future. Maybe this season, maybe later on in his career. So with that, number 8, Russell Wilson. I'll keep him where he's at. Russell didn't have the best this past season. Even okay, Russell is an amazing quarterback. I'm ready to see what he does with that offense in the Broncos. But it's just that the other quarterbacks with experience that I've seen with them, I think Russell just could stay where he's at. Russell's not a bad quarterback. It's just that, the past couple of years, he's had a struggle. Last year, obviously, was the injury, so I'll give him that. He was out for like half the year. But still, even when he came back, he still wasn't having his best season. There was talks of him and Pete Carroll both leaving Seattle that same year, and we don't know what was going to happen. And then they finally pull the trigger and trade him to the Denver Broncos. But but Russell hasn't always had the best outings and things. Obviously, he's won the Super Bowl in the past. He's been to it twice, losing one on a very controversial call. But he was part of that squad with the Legion of Boom. He was part of that offense, and that offense was good. That's what got him to Super Bowls. Russell is that dude. Like when he finds Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, he performs the best football when he has Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf on the field together. It's just an amazing receiver core that they had there in Seattle. I wonder what the future is for Seattle now that they don't. They're definitely they're going to get a new quarterback. I don't see Drew Lock. They'll probably play Drew Lock for the year, but I just want them to get a new quarterback. I don't. No disrespect to Lock, but I just don't think Lock's your answer with a group like DK and Tyler Lockett. I don't think that that's really a quarterback you want for those two guys. And rumors of DK Metcalf possibly getting traded to somewhere else or leaving the Seahawks. I don't know. Or trying to get a contract. I don't know. But we'll move on from that. Russell Wilson with the Broncos is going to be good because this is a new offense. You saw with Terry Bridgewater and Drew Lock, it wasn't working out very well with the two receivers they had with Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. But now with the addition of Russell Wilson, you have Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Judy's still young, and with somebody, this is what I like about it. Some of these young receivers are starting to get quarterbacks that can help them by developing their game and getting them better and scoring more touchdowns, getting more passing yards, and getting more yards in their career, and just like helping their career out mentally and just getting them on the right track where they need to be a good receiver that they can be in their career. And with that, Russell brings out a lot, and I think he'll bring that to Sutton and Jerry Judy. That's where I stand on that. Number 9, I I don't even know. We'll get to who I want to put at number 9. I'm not putting Deshaun Watson in my top 10 list again, guys. What is Deshaun Watson dealing with right now? I don't even know if I have to go over this, but just as a reminder, what is Deshaun Watson dealing with right now? A civil lawsuit case where there's like 20,000 cases popping up each time, each week. Somebody's saying something. Right now, it's quieted down, obviously, because they're getting into the final moments of it, and that decision still hasn't been made on it. But we know for a fact that Deshaun Watson will not be playing probably a year in the NFL this year. So why even put that? Now, man has talent. Again, don't get me wrong on that. But still, why put a man that's dealing with a civil lawsuit case right now with so many cases and with all the pressure he's on with right now? Why would you think it would be a good option to just go ahead and put him in a top 10 list for quarterbacks entering 2022 when he might not even get to step foot on the field for the Browns this season or in general? He may never even play with the Browns. He might be in 2023, but not this year. I don't think he'll even play a full year. But I've covered this already. So if you want to go check that podcast out, go back to episode 7 where I talk about Deshaun Watson, the whole Deshaun Watson issue. But I don't know why you put him in this list anyway to begin with. So we're gonna talk about who I want to put there, but other than that, I'm not putting Deshaun Watson in my list entering 2022 NFL season. And then the final dude, number 10, Dak Dakota Prescott, my quarterback, the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, was voted on this list at number 10. This is another one where people were in controversy about. So here's my thing with Dak. I think Dak deserves definitely to be in the top 10 list. I may move him up just one over Deshaun, but yet again, I still got to figure out who I want. We still have honorable mentions to go over, by the way, for the quarterbacks, because there's 3 honorable mention quarterbacks that are on this list. Dak Prescott. Here's the thing about Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott had an outstanding first half of the season this past year, and then the second half he went on that he had a little slump. He had a little problem. The offense wasn't producing as much as they were in the first half of the year when they were going on that winning streak. But still, Dak Prescott has potential to be a great quarterback. He deserves to be in the top 10 list, I believe. And I'm not trying to be biased here by saying he is the best quarterback on this list. There's no one else better than him. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he deserves to be top 10. I just Dak Prescott. It's weird with Dak, you guys. And as a Cowboys fan, and as somebody, and I'm sure a couple of you Cowboy fans are listening to this podcast, I can say that Dak Prescott. It's weird with him because you don't know how he's going to play. One week he could go off for like 4 touchdowns and like 300 yards, or he could go the next week with only like 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and like 200 yards. You really don't know what the outcome is for Dak Prescott on most games, even against the simple teams. But Dak Prescott, now I know for a fact Dak Prescott took us a lot for granted. He shocked us. He shocked us a lot in that Week 1 matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in Week 1 when we took that loss. It was a really good game. Yes, we took the loss, but it was a really good comeback game for Dak. If I had to pick what was the best game for Dak, as a quarterback, it'd probably be that Buccaneers game, because that Buccaneers game he was talked about a lot because he had that injury in 2020. He got his money, and not with him. And that's another thing with him getting his money. Everybody's now wondering, oh, Dak's now got his money. So is he going to use that money right and perform well? So he's just going to use that as a money. Hey, I got what I want for my money. Now I'm just going to go do whatever the heck I want. No, Dak came back that Week 1 and he performed well. He got 400. I want to say Dak almost got 500 yards out of that whole game. If I can remember what the stat line was, it was 400, 432 yards, I believe, for that game. But yeah, right here it was no, no, okay. What I can The Bucks game, he took us by storm because Dak was coming off his injury. As I go back to mention, Dak was coming back with his injury, and everybody's like, "Okay, Dak, you have your money. You're coming off your injury, even though you're not healthy, because he's still dealing with that." At that time, he also had that shoulder problem that kept him out of preseason and camp for almost that whole time. People were like, "All right, Dak, let's see what you can do." And Dak performed a very well game against those Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He came back. He proved a lot of people, because a lot of people were saying that the Cowboys were going to get demolished that game, because y'all know how that Bucks defense was this past year. That Bucks defense just elevated a lot of people. But with that game, I think it was a very good game for Dak. Dak came back right here. Yes. So I do have it. The yards for that game. Oh, I was way off yards. I was a little off. Dak Prescott's yards were 403. He averaged 72.4. No, his completion was 72.4. His QBR rating was 71.3. So it wasn't a bad return game for Dak Prescott. As y'all know, he's an amazing guy. It was a good game for him. But Dak Dak's now coming into this season with no Amari Cooper and no Cedric Wilson. Those are big receiver names on our receiver core for this past season, as y'all know. Amari traded Cedric. I bring up Cedric. I bring up Now you're probably wondering. I bring up Cedric Wilson because Cedric Wilson also impacted our offense a couple times this past season, and it was a lot too. And he fitted very well with our system. I liked how Kellen Moore used him a lot on our trick plays. But Dak Prescott now has CD Lamb. Oh, I'm sorry, Cedric going to Miami on that. But now Dak Prescott has a new number one receiver, and that is CD Lamb, the draft pick in 2020 that helped us a lot. CD Lamb is going to bring a lot to Dak, and that's what's going to make Dak improve even better. CeeDee Lamb's already improved. He's proved it. We've seen it the past 2 years. CeeDee Lamb is like he's like one of the best receivers, maybe in my eyes. I don't know, like they're going to do a top 10 list on receivers. They have a schedule on how they're going to release positions. But CeeDee Lamb, in my eyes, is a good receiver. And with Dak and CD, it worked. That system works well. And you saw last year and in 2020 before Dak went out, CD was catching the most bomb plays from Dak. Dak would just air it out and throw it to CD Lamb. I'm mixing up my words here. I need to slow down. Dak would air it out, throw it to CD, and they complete it for a pass, and it'd be a touchdown or it'd be a huge completion for a game. That's and CD Lamb's footwork and his acceleration and his speed to just get up the field with Dak is amazing. That's why I'm pumped. That's why I am pumped for this season. And then you have your other receiver, Michael Gallup, who might be out for the first few weeks or so. The first couple weeks, or maybe the first few weeks of the season. So he might be out for like the first two games, they're saying. But still, Michael Gallup is our new deep threat. CD Lamb's our number one, but Michael Gallup's more of our deep threat. He's going to be filling in Amari's spot. Amari was our deep threat guy. Amari was a great route runner. But Michael Gallup, you know what he has potential being good at? Michael Gallup has potential being a good toe dragger and keeping his feet in. He's had it a couple of times this past year. There was one against New Orleans where Dak heaved it up to Gallup and he just made it a great pass. But Dak's going to have that, and he has Dalton Schultz, but we don't know the status on Schultz. The trade deadline's the 15th. I keep hearing they could trade him or they could just sign him, but they're signing him. Dalton Schultz will play for the Cowboys. I can guarantee that. No way they get rid of him like that. But Dak to Schultz, that's another good combo. That's another good quarterback tight end duo. And this is what I think about Dak on the list. Dak on the list deserves it, as I keep mentioning. And you're probably thinking, where am I going at this with this Dak Prescott? It's just that I believe he deserves to be on the list, but I'm not going to push him up even more to where he needs to be. I'm not going to put him like at 5 or 4 maybe, because he's not Aaron Rodgers yet. He's not Pat Mahomes yet. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Tom Brady. He can get to a point. Now, okay, let me make this very clear. Dak Prescott can get to a point in his career where he could possibly be like one of these guys and have a good play style like them, where he can perform well like Aaron Rodgers, where he could probably perform well like Patrick Mahomes. Dak Prescott is more of a Dak Prescott can scramble with the ball. They want to use him more run plays, but I don't think so. I want the Cowboys to change that and limit the runs. I want Dak to be more of a pocket passer and just find his open targets. I'm not scared. I don't think. I'm not saying that Dak's not a good runner. Dak can make good plays on the. Dak can make good run plays. I'm not bringing up that one run play. We all know what run play I'm talking about, but Dak I just don't want another. I just don't want to risk it. He just came on, and Dak's already said he's 100%. So I believe that Dak is. I just don't want him risking having another leg injury, possibly another tear. I don't want to see that happen. With much potential Dak Prescott has in the future with the Cowboys, I think that he is too young to just be getting hurt again like that. I don't want to. I don't want them to euthanize him in the run game more. That's for the running backs. That's for Zeke and Pollard to do. I just don't want him to. He can run, but I don't want them to use him on every run play. Like I don't want them to find him on a. I just want them to stick with his passing and making passes for his targets. And with that returning coaching core, I think that'll be good. But Dak, with all that being said, Dak Prescott, I'll keep him on this list. I'll keep him in the 8, 9, 10 range, maybe if I had to move around some people. But that's what I think about this top 10 list. And guys, that was a long session of lists. We still got a little more to go. This podcast is not over yet because I knew this was going to be a long podcast. So I just made sure to go by each player and talk about. And I know I talked about Dak a lot, probably the most. You're probably sitting here thinking, "Oh my gosh, when does this kid stop talking about Dak Prescott?" We get it. But I just know a lot more about Dak because as a Cowboys fan perspective, I know a lot from Dak. I've seen Dak play for all 7 years, you guys. 7 years. 6 years he's been playing in the NFL. He's about to go on his 7th year. But I've had a lot more perspective with Dak Prescott than all these other 9 quarterbacks ahead of him. Even though I've seen all these other 9 quarterbacks play, I still have a better perspective on how Dak plays and what his potential is. So with that, we're going to get into another topic about this list. So with this NFL list coming out of quarterbacks entering this next season in 2022, there's one man on this list that was not mentioned that a lot of people. There's one man on this list that was absent, and a lot of people thinks that he deserves to be on this list. Oh, before we get into that person, actually, let me just mention the honorable mentions real quick. Lamar, Kyler, and Derek. Lamar, Kyler, and Derek, that's a good honorable mentions, but hold on. There's one man there's that one man that a lot of people thought that should have been on that list, and that is right here, number 8 for the Ravens, quarterback Lamar Jackson. I am like other people here. I believe Lamar Jackson deserves to be on that top 10 list, and here's why. Lamar Jackson is the sole piece to that Ravens offense. You may think it. Actually, no. We know it because we see how he works with that offense. Lamar Jackson, yes, he didn't have the best season last year. He almost hit 300 yards, though. He was close. He had a 16-3 touchdown interception ratio last year, which was not okay, but still, he was out for half the year because of an injury. Lamar still hasn't been paid. Lamar needs to be paid. Lamar needs to be paid now, this instant. Lamar Jackson is that soul, like I just mentioned a couple seconds ago. Lamar Jackson is that soul of that offense. Without them, I don't know how that offense can operate. Tyler Huntley did very well stepping up for them last year. I thought he was a great backup for Lamar. Even though they lost 5 games in a row, he still showed some potential there with the Ravens. But with the receiver core, with how banged up the Ravens have been so lately, it's just wow. So, they just lost Hollywood Brown. What a freaking mistake. Why would you trade Hollywood Brown away? You don't have Sammy Watkins anymore. Sammy Watkins was just signed with the Packers. So now you're out with that. I don't even know who the Ravens receivers are at this point. I can't remember who is on their depth chart, but I don't know who's on the Ravens depth chart. I'm trying to figure that out. Who's the number one receiver? If y'all can help me out with that, but I don't know how this can work. Well, I know how this can work. The Ravens defense is also very well. Oh! Lamar Jackson has Mark Andrews. That's one person I could think of. Him and Andrews performed very well together. Um, but yeah, Lamar Jackson had a historic season in 2019, winning MVP and scoring and getting a lot of rushing yards. 2019, 2020, he went back to back years for 1,000 yards, and he's also had a lot in the passing game, as y'all can see. Lamar Jackson's rushing ability is just something like we haven't seen since Michael Vick. I think he beat Michael Vick's rushing yard record in a single season a couple of years ago. But Lamar has so much potential with this Ravens squad, and you see how he plays. I don't see why you don't put him on the list. He deserves to be on the list. I don't know why he isn't on the list. I'm replacing him with Deshaun Watson for sure, but I don't know where to rank it. Again, that's something I have to think about. I still haven't mentioned how I want to rank these quarterbacks, but I just can't think right now with how I'm doing this. I don't want to go through ranking them right now, so we'll do that. I'll probably mention that another time in another podcast, but Kyler definitely probably deserves to be up there, even though he's one of those quarterback. He's one of those guys that's kind of like what Dak has had last year. Kyler and the Cardinals were hot in the start of the year. They were the last team to go undefeated, and then they won that second half of the year, and they went on a slump, losing games. But it's it's Lamar. I don't know how you can sit up here and tell me that Lamar Jackson does not deserve. Lamar Jackson does not deserve to be on this list. Lamar Jackson deserves to be on this list. Okay, he's brought a lot to the Ravens. He's made more than the playoffs. Lamar has done a lot more than some of these quarterbacks have with in their past careers. He's gone more to the playoffs with more than Joe Burrow. Yes, Joe Burrow's made a Super Bowl, but Lamar's made the playoffs 3 times, and he's made it to the. I don't think Lamar's made it past the divisional. Yeah, he hasn't yet, but still, with how Lamar has had so much potential with the squad and what he's brought to the Ravens, he needs to get paid now. And the way that he plays the game of football, you can't just sit up here and tell me he's not on that top 10. He deserves to be on that top 10, and I think Lamar Jackson deserves to be. Who else is on this honorable mention? As I mentioned, Kyler, he has probably potential. He probably has potential to be on here, but yet again, I don't know what his stake is, especially how he performs in the regular season next year. Derek Carr. Derek Carr also has potential to be on this top 10 NFL quarterbacks list. He now has Devontae Adams. He has Darren Waller and Hunter Renfro. So that's going to be a good squad with Derek Carr. Derek Carr's getting a big upgrade. He's getting his old teammate Devontae Adams back. So that's going to be good for him. I'm happy for him. He's going to perform well. We're going to see how this goes. So now that we're out of the way with there, Lamar Jackson not making the list, should be on the list. We're done with the quarterbacks list. Now, let's get to our last thing that we're going to talk about on this podcast. And this is the last thing we'll talk about, and then we'll wrap it up here. What is it so far? We're almost at the 40-minute mark. Right now it's at the 38-minute mark. So this is a good podcast so far. I like how I'm going in with each quarterback and explaining what they've done in their careers so far. So let's get into another topic that I wanted to talk about on the same podcast, and it brought my attention by other people when I was listening to them this morning talk about this list. What I want to talk about is which quarterback I think will perform better next year and get their offense going and have better potential with their offense. And that's between Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers or Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. So this is what I want to get into. So both quarterbacks are losing their top receivers. Are losing their top receivers. Devontae Adams being traded to the Las Vegas Raiders, and then Tyreek Hill being traded to the Dolphins. So Rodgers lost his guy. Patrick Mahomes lost his guy. Now, which quarterback do I think will probably have their offense going next year and perform better? No disrespect to Aaron Rodgers, but I'm going to take the number 2 guy on this quarterbacks list, Patrick Mahomes. I think Mahomes has more. How do I say this? Mahomes has more to work with the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, Mahomes he did lose Tyreek Hill, one of the fastest receivers in the NFL right now. He did lose Tyreek, yes, but he still has a good cast around him. He still has Travis Kelce tight end. He still has Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who was from the Packers that Rodgers had, but he signed with the Chiefs. And then you have Mr. Little TikTok star Corvette, Juju Smith-Schuster, which, by the way, he better not be making TikToks with Jackson. I swear to gosh, if I see one with him and Jackson, I'm going to be coming on this podcast, putting him on blast. And please, I will do it. Don't think I won't. I'm just kidding. I don't know. But besides Juju being the little TikTok star that he is, Juju will bring some good to that Chiefs offense. But what I'm getting into is that I'm saying Patrick Mahomes because, again, Mahomes still has a cast around him. He has Valdes-Scantling, who worked with Rodgers. Mahomes is also having Juju and Travis. He's keeping Travis. And the reason why I say Mahomes more is because Mahomes also can create plays with this squad. You saw when Tyreek first was here, he thought Mahomes was going to suck. When Mahomes first got here, he thought, oh, shoot, Mahomes is going to be our starting. He even mentioned it. He said, oh, I thought he was going to suck because you had Alex Smith. And now you don't know how Mahomes is going to be. Mahomes made Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and all these other guys like Sammy Watkins. He made them into something they haven't been in a while. He got them to the Super Bowl twice with the squad. They won one, lost one, but still, he brought him a Super Bowl. Mahomes, those checkdowns to the Chiefs' offense has just been amazing for these past few years. For these years that Mahomes has been here, he gets a lot of checkdowns. He'll find Tyreek Hill out in the open, wide open in the field, and he'll just find him for a big old deep ball. Travis Kelce, he finds him on big little he finds him on big plays too that come in important. So with Mahomes having that, he has more of a receiver type of deal on his offense. His receivers are more Mahomes runs fat. Mahomes runs around a lot too. So with that, he produces a lot for his offense. But Mahomes has more capable of the offense. Aaron Rodgers, the thing with Aaron Rodgers is that he doesn't have really anybody on that off. Again, when Davante Adams did get here though in Green Bay in 2014, he was only a second rounder. And look what Rodgers developed him into. So I'm not saying that Rodgers will suck at this, but again, he has Sammy Watkins, and then he has Allen Lazard, and I don't know if Randall Cobb's coming back. I keep hearing that. I don't know. I heard from somebody that Cobb might not return with the Packers this year. But still, I mean, it's kind of hard to. It was hard to choose at first because of the quarterbacks, but then I realized the offensive structure they had around him, and my guts decided to go with Mahomes on this one. Sorry, Rodgers, no disrespect. I think you're still a bad man. I think you're a great quarterback. But it's just that Mahomes, the way that he can work with that offense and structure them well, he can get them into the playoffs. Rodgers, his receivers are like, we don't know how it's going to work. He doesn't have Davante. He has Sammy Watkins, which Sammy performed well with Mahomes. So maybe Rodgers performed well with Sammy Watkins. You never know. Rodgers developed Adams into a good quarterback, so maybe he'll perform well. Maybe he'll perform him well, or maybe he'll perform well with him in the future in this season. But on this one, who I think will probably be more capable of the offense, getting them going a lot quicker, is probably going to be Patrick Mahomes because of, again, his structure of the receivers and the way that he can put the ball in a receiver's hand and check it down towards the field and just bomb it downfield. So that's what this podcast is. So with that, I think we're going to wrap it up here with this podcast. Again, you're listening to Cooper Sports Podcast. This has been an amazing podcast. We're at the 44-minute mark. I think this was a good podcast. I got out a lot of information. Please tell me if I'm putting out too much information on certain players. Just tell me, and I'll dial it down so that way I don't have to keep mentioning it. But again, thank you for listening to Cooper Sports Podcast. Please share this message, or please share the podcast with others so others can get this out. You are listening to Cooper Sports Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Cooper Books. Have a great day, and thank you for listening.